Here I lie in the splendor of Montana's daylight savings in the dark, looking at this blown axle seal on the Army truck. It's the only thing that I planned on fixing before winter, and this is what's keeping me from putting the truck away. Now the thing is, this seal has only lasted, this is its second year, and it only made it, about halfway through that second season before it started to puke oil on me, which probably means I damaged it somehow. You can see right up there, no you can't because it's, there you can. Right up there you can see the crack, that dark line that looks like it's a seam. Yeah, it's not a seam. These are a one-piece molded silicone. That I believe is all that I've got for a crack when it comes to this thing. I haven't cleaned off the grease and poked around in there, and maybe I'll find that I got a bigger hole, but I think that's all I've got. And I believe that the axle stub shaft is flinging grease up there, and then when the axle heats up, the pressure builds up and it blurps a little bit out, and then it gets all squished and squished around. I'd sure hate to take and change this whole thing just for that, and run the risk that the whole thing would last another year and a half. That hole's pretty tiny. Add to it, I have got a leaking driveline seal in there, so I'm getting gear oil into my grease. Now in the Jeep world we call that pudding, axle pudding, and it was just considered normal. And in the Jeep world we'd have two leather wipers and the rest of this whole thing just did its thing and they'd go for forever. So I'm starting to wonder if I stand a fair chance of just blowing another one, and that's because we articulate. Every single run I go from lock to lock twice. Every single run, day after day, run after run. And so, I think that's why I'm wrecking my joints. I'm using it in a way that a lot of folks aren't. So what I'm wondering about is, can I make it a bib? Can I just cut myself a thin sheet of tough rubber and make sort of a mud flap up there, just so that water can't hit it directly? I know the grease will continue to ooze out. The only reason this wheel looks the way it did is because the moment that thing blew, I stopped pressure washing it, right? Because I don't want to blow water into it. But if I had a bib, then I could at least pressure wash this and keep it clean. Because, DOT flips out when they see grease and oil spraying on the inside of your tires. But if I pressure wash it off, it'll be fine. No one will care. I do have a lot of dark discoloration all over in here, which I think is just, how grease wicks moisture. Well, not moisture, it's the grease, obviously. I'll pull that brake seal and make sure I got nothing in there. I can just do it right now. So it's dry inside. Yeah, I'll leave that and inspect the brakes. Oh, look at that. Perfect. I can tell you this, guys. If you're running these things, I run this thing commercially, up and down a mountainside, day after day after day. I have adjusted the brake shoes once in 3 years. I suspect it's because of low speeds and no weight, but I get incredible mileage out of my brakes. Anyways, currently what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean this all out. I'm going to find out how big that hole is. If the hole's pretty small, I'm going to cut myself a rubber swiper for a top up there, like a mud flap, and we'll see if it fits and looks okay. And I think I can cinch it down underneath this retainer ring here. Oh, now that looks better, doesn't it? So this is what I'm dealing with right up here. That's what I got. It looks clean in there. I smell a little gear oil. You can tell this grease, when I put it in, was a white grease, and now there's a honey color to it. And you can smell the gear oil in it. So it's mixed a little bit with gear oil. Not awesome, but like I said, in the Jeeps we just call it axle pudding. And inside this hub is a sealed, greasable U-joint. So to be totally honest, keeping them completely full of grease ain't doing all that much for you in the first place. It's like there's supposed to be some sort of CV joint instead. I don't know if I got different axles or whatnot. But I think that is very eminently patchable. And I think I'm going to cut myself an arch, as it were, right? And that arch will turn with the wheel on the axle. But if I can get it to sort of flow down and back, if I can get it to, a mud flap, so to speak. I don't Ford. I just want to keep road spray and dust out of it. I know there are going to get people in the comments flipping out. Trust me, we never used to put covers on these kinds of things at all. It would have been open knuckle and a permanently greased U-joint, and that's how she would roll. And that is in trucks all over this country and has been for decades. In this case, it's just a old seal design. I just don't want to fill that with gunk, and we should be golden. It's worth a try anyways, and if I have dismal failure, as always, I'll let you know. This is what I built. This is not quite round. That's sort of to notch out for the axle. And I want it to fit got grease blurping out. Okay. I want it to fit up there like that. Obviously it'll pull down. Line my screw holes up. So it'll pull down like that. Now when this wheel is at full lock, I'm hoping it'll just sort of slide along. The debate I'm having is, do I loosen this and try to work it behind, or do I loosen this and put it on top? I think I want it behind. And I made it long enough so that it's more than halfway, right? So anything that should drop off the rest of the way. And I believe it would be possible for you to actually, this is just old inner tube, to actually cut yourself more or less a full ride rubber gasket. And I think for some of you guys that are going off-road, that might be a good idea. What I don't know is if people are losing their gaskets because, like me, they're just overextending them, and these things are pretty sharp. I really should have rounded that off. Or if they're losing them because they're getting sticks jammed up in there. And I think if you had this, of course, in the bottom like that, it's gonna collect crap, isn't it? But if you brought your gasket all the way down to here, I don't know. That's not a problem I have, so I'll leave it up to you mutters. I think I'm gonna see if I can crack this loose and try to work that gasket in there without overly upsetting the balance of the two, because this is actually glued on, and I'd very, very much like it if it didn't come loose. That if it stayed glued on, I'd really like that. But let's see if I can get it in there. This is seamed at the top, which will make it easier. Maybe I can do one half and then another. Don't know yet. We're kind of working this out as we go. So there it is. That looks pretty good. I don't think it's going to roll underneath. I believe it's going to take a curled up set like that. As this axle goes back and forth. I suppose time will tell. If it does roll underneath, I'll have to watch that it doesn't try to cut anything. Now, because mine leaks a little bit here at the top, is no doubt is going to get all full of schmoo, right? But all that schmoo will do is help lubricate things. I suspect all I'm risking is a little paint here on the axle stub shaft. That's going to look pretty legit. I don't see any reason why a DOT guy would, get his knickers in a twist there. I think if I was to do it over again, I would carry this down to like right here. Maybe just right here, but I think I'd carry it down to right there. Maybe not so much on the back side, but I believe I do that on the front side. You think that's just going to channel water and crap with the air currents up and around? Think I'm just going to make this worse? Oh, poop. Now I'm concerned I'm going to make it a whole lot worse. Think it's going to do that? It's a pretty tight seal right in there. I don't know if I can see water being wicked up and around. Well, I'll take opinions from the gallery. I do totally believe if I had to do it over again, I'd have gone right there. My problem was I didn't have a wide enough piece of flat inner tube to pull that off. I'm going to try this and see if it's an adequate solution for a cracked axle boot up at the top. Now, in my experience, and I've only had 4 axle boots I've had to replace here. Oh, that's not true. 5, because on one of the parts trucks, I've got an axle boot that needs to be replaced, but I haven't bothered. They've all started up there. Every single one of them started up there. Though I did have a truck that later, it was in pretty bad shape when I got it. It also had a hole down here. But they all started up there. So who knows? This might be a valid solution. And if this thing was on parade duty, 100%, that is a permanent fix. Well, weigh in the comments. So many of you guys have been doing this for so very long, and you're so very, very good at it. And to be quite honest, incredibly creative. So let me know what you think. I'm going to totally recommend this to the off-road guys. Totally recommend. If you brought it down to like right there. See, what I could see the problem, of course, is with the off-road guys is this, you know, it's going to wick water, and you don't want it to hold water down here, so it's still going to drain. But I think if that was armor plated, you know, you could go to like right here and leave a 1-inch gap in the center there to drain out. Who knows? Because I believe the off-road guys, what happens is the dirt packs up inside there, and then it just grinds the seals to oblivion. So this might keep them out. I'll let you know long term, but I think I got a nice seal, and it'll totally let me pressure wash this wheel again. And if I pressure wash the wheel, there'd be no schmoo on it, and if there's no schmoo on it, no DOT guy's gonna get his knickers in a bunch, and I think we all walk away happy. Did forget that the brush guards are going to go back on. So they are going to divert some, but I still think, boy, I wish it came right down there. I wish I went one more bolt on that side. Might have to modify my template and just make another one and come back and put it on. Give me one more season at least. Because my hole's right there. So my pressure washer angles down. It's going to push this back. I mean, I'm going to get a little back spray up in there. Yeah, but I can just be careful, you know. I mean, I already am careful. I don't want to spray against the seals on the steering cylinder. I try not to spray against shackle seals. But let me get right down in here and get all this. Get her all cleaned up so it looks like the other wheel. I think that'll work. And I think that might be a good idea for the guys that are building monster trucks. Though, if they're smart enough to build monster trucks, they're probably smart enough to do this. Unless this turns out to be a stupid idea, in which case I'll let you know. I can see it rolling underneath. But to be honest, this truck is going to sit all winter like this, and that rubber ought to take a nice hard set. Lock to lock. Day in, day out. Day in, day out. That's what I do to it. We'll know real quick if this is a stupid idea.